যোৱা ইংৰাজী 30 আগষ্ট তাৰিখে ডিব্ৰুগড় বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় অনুদান আয়োগৰ অধীনৰ মহিলা শিক্ষা কোষৰ উদ্যোগত দ্বিতীয় অধ্যাপিকা অপৰ্ণা দত্ত মহন্ত সোঁৱৰণী বক্তৃতানুষ্ঠানটিৰ আয়োজন সম্পন্ন হয়। বিশিষ্ট অভ্যাগত বৃন্দৰ আসন গ্ৰহণ সম্বৰ্ধনা পৰ্বৰ অন্তত বন্তি প্ৰজ্বলন কাৰ্যসূচীৰে সভাৰ আনুষ্ঠানিকতা সম্পন্ন হয় তথা মহিলা কোষ কেন্দ্ৰৰ সম্পৰ্কত বিস্তৃত ৰূপত আলোকপাত কৰা হয়।
I would like to welcome the speaker of the second Professor Aparna Dutta Mahanta Memorial Lecture, our most revered Professor Sushila Kaushik, retired Professor, Department of Political Science, Founder, Director, Women's Studies and Development Center, WSDC, University of Delhi. Madam, we can't thank you enough for making all the effort to travel so far to make to this event. We owe a lot to you, Madam, for your invaluable support, especially during your association with Professor Mahanta and during the infancy of the Center for Women's Studies. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to the officials from Oil India Limited, Duliajan, who have joined us this afternoon. We are indeed privileged to have you with us, and we thank you for all your support. I welcome all our distinguished guests, faculty, staff from Women's Studies centers from across the region and the country, and all the different faculties who are present both online and offline. We thank all of you, dear colleagues and friends, for all your support and for always standing by us whenever we needed you most. I feel blessed to welcome to our midst Professor Aparna Dutta Mahanta, former Professor, Department of Physics, DIBRUGARH University, and his family and their children and his grandchildren and all the members of the family of Professor Aparna Mahanta.
I would like to congratulate the director in charge of this center for organizing the Silver Jubilee celebration of the 25 years of this Center for Women's Studies in the DIBRUGARH University. From the very beginning, I was with this center. Even before that, I was here in this area, and so at the very beginning, I would like to congratulate for organizing this kind of program and inviting Professor Kaushik, Professor Sushila Kaushik. She needs no introduction in the field of women's studies to deliver lecture today. Professor Aparna Dutta Mahanta, we call her Aparna Baido, the founder director of Women's Studies Center, was an intrepid fighter for equality and social justice. She was one of the fountainhead of women's studies, not only in this university, but also in the entire Northeast India. Here, I would like to say few words that this center is a proud legacy of an earlier women's organization known as Professional Women's Forum. Our senior colleagues are here who are engaged with these programs of Professional Women's Forum in early 80s and early 90s. Under the leadership of Professor Swarnalata Borua from the Department of History and Professor Aparna Mahanta, Swarnalata Borua was the president of the forum, and Professor Aparna Mahanta was the secretary of the Professional Women's Forum of DIBRUGARH University, which provided services to the broader community both on and off the campus by organizing lectures, conferences, seminars, and gender sensitization programs, health camps, so on and so forth, not only inside the university but also in the neighboring villages. With Aparna Mahanta Baido and Swarnalata Baido, we have visited a number of villages, nearby villages in those days. Bharati Baidewi was also there most probably. And we went to Puhari Khonia Gao near Mo Polimora, we went to Binoy Gutia, we went to Kutuha, we went to Dainizan, and many neighboring villages we know, and we organized health camp, sensitization program, and so on and so forth in those days, under the leadership of Aparna Baidewi and Swarnalata Baidewi. It was as early as 1988, the forum organized a seminar on the status of women in non-tribal societies of Assam. It was sponsored by ICSSR, Northeast section, and Professor Joshudhara Bagsi from Jadavpur University inaugurated this cinema. I recollect the memory of Professor Bagsi, who was there in 88. I have joined in 1987, and in 1988, the seminar was organized. And Joshudhara Bagsi, in her inaugural speech, stated that the concept like Mohini, Kamini, associated with women, which only promote their degradation, must be changed, and unless the women be treated equal with men and given equal opportunities and to develop their real progress is not possible. With 18 papers presented in the seminar, a volume came consequently in 1992, and Aparna Baidewi had also had written a very scientifically written research paper in that volume, the book was edited by, the name of the book was Status of Women in Assam, and it was edited by Professor Swarnalata Barua. Thus, in the late 80s and early 90s, this forum was an active organization in the university, worked for women issues. In 1998, this Center for Women's Studies was established, which is now 25 years old. Since its inception, it has been working on very varied aspects of women's studies, women and gender issues. On this auspicious occasion of Silver Jubilee, the center has invited Sushila Kaushik ma'am, who will deliver a lecture on mainstreaming and integrating women's studies, ways to meet patriarchy. We all are present here eagerly waiting to listen to her thought-provoking lecture.
On that, we are indeed very much grateful to the authorities of Dibrugarh University, and I would specially like to make a mention of Professor Devdas Kakoti and Professor Kulendu Pathak sir, during whose tenures the center was founded and it received the UGC recognition. We lost Professor Kakoti a few months back, and we offer our tribute to the eternal rest of the soul. And we are in fact humbled by the kind of support that we have been receiving from the university authorities from time to time. Otherwise, we would not have been where we are at this moment. On that note, may I request our anchor Barnali to kindly carry on with the next part of the proceedings. There is a felicitation ceremony, so I would request Barnali to take over.
May I request Dr. Loni Dwara to please felicitate Professor Daisy Bora Talukdar, the former director of the center, with a memento, hand-woven stole and a folder. She is the second director of the center, and her contributions are immense and has been there in many of the path-changing programs in our center. Thank you. Thank you, Loni. I now request my colleague Debojani Bora to please felicitate Professor Aparna Dutta Mahanta, sir, retired professor and former head of the Department of Physics, Dibrugarh University, with a memento, a stole and a folder.
On On that note, I wish to move on to the highlight of today's event, the memorial lecture. The second Professor Aparna Dutt Memorial Lecture. I would not delay further because we all are waiting eagerly to listen to Professor Sushila Kaushik ma'am. I would like to request Madam to deliver her lecture on the title Mainstreaming and Integrating Women's Studies, Ways to Meet Patriarchy. Over to you, Madam.
Faculty members, and accordingly you can think about putting it up in the SOYAM or the MOOCs program. So think and explore, that is what is required, and not just putting the blame game and not thinking about self-correcting yourself. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
I happened to be the assistant secretary, general secretary at that time. Aparna was my member, and both of us shared the same room for about 4 days. It is that time I met her for the first time. I was really scared of her. I was scared of her. Age-wise, maybe I was more. But the firm look, the way she took up positions in the conference, her ideologically strong point of view. I used to be scared really even in the room, because if we start on a debate, I'll be the loser. So I didn't want any discussion, any debate in the room. But I got lost in organizational issues since I was an organizing secretary. But I came to know Aparna only there. The second time I met Aparna, where again she frightened me, this time intellectually. That was in Guwahati. There was a workshop organized by ICSSR, and the director of Guwahati Center had invited me as a resource person. And most probably I was involved in getting a little bit organized. I came there and there was a panel discussion, and Aparna Dutta Mahanta was talking there. I just sat in the last row and was scared of her. Scared of her because her views were so strong, so passionate, so different from my views, and for that matter many others. She really shook us, the way she took up positions on many issues in that particular seminar, that particular position she took. I thought, my God, she is thinking totally differently from the way we people think. She is putting a point of view which I have never thought of. So that frightened me. Betty, aap ya to baith jao. Can you sit down? Because you are hiding me from Professor Mahanta's face, and I want him to react to this because he may think that I am wrong. She is not that type the way I am describing her. But I am only describing my reaction. So both the times I was very close to her, but I was quite away from her, mainly because her ideology was too strong and she was so passionate about it that I was to women's studies, I was a newcomer. The age-wise, I might have been more. So I was learning a lot from her, and I mean, instead of being excited alone, I was also scared of her. After that, I met her third time. That was very soon after that. That was in UGC committee meeting, where Aparna came and submitted the proposal for a women's studies center in DIBRUGARH University. I happened to be on the other side of the table. Just that, I'm in Delhi, so they get easily calling me, and they only have to pay me a taxi fare if they want to, otherwise that also they won't do. So I was easily available to many of these meetings. And she came out with a proposal. I stopped. I said, Aparna, don't give your proposal. It will become a discussion. So I know you, I have met you, we don't need to see your proposal, just get up and go. So in the sense, the proposal was so good and Aparna could present it so well, so I said there is no need to have a long discussion on the proposal, I know you will do well, so we just passed the proposal in no time. And that's the third time I met her. Afterwards, I met her almost in every workshop which has taken place in the Northeast, and the workshop in the all-India conferences of women's studies, and we grew quite friendly to each other. She came back and organized the first, I don't know whether it's the first workshop she organized, but she organized a workshop for corporators in Assam region where she had called, various corporate bodies in Assam region, including oil and natural gas, ONGC and many others. I just was sitting and thought, we women studies fellows never thought we should bring in all the companies into this, corporates into this. And those girls all wearing official uniform of UN, what can they say on women? What can they say on women's studies? It's an academic subject for people like us or activists, which many of us wear. But these are company employees. But the papers they presented were super. They talked about, I asked her, why did you go and call these people to the workshop? She said, ma'am, there are a lot of women there. Sushila, there are a lot of women there in their companies. They have problems. We must listen to them. And the company owners also said, organize something for them. So this has been sponsored by them, this conference, and I called. They made the maximum amount of papers they read. We were all sitting on the periphery and learning their experience. I still remember that. And it's a big hall. After that, every workshop almost, we have met each other, whether organized in Guwahati or here. But I must tell you this, Aparna and I never had the same view on every issue. Or for that matter, many of us. She was an activist in her own way. It was mainly because each of us come from a different type of a discipline. That really molds our way of looking at women's studies. If you're an economist, you'll think differently. If you're a political science, I'll think of it power and positions and things like that. And somebody else. And maybe that's the reason. Aparna's English was superb. Her way of looking at women's studies issues very different. And it was always exciting. So I was a keen listener to what Aparna will talk in these workshops. Unfortunately for me, another keen supporter of hers and worshipper of hers was Archana Sharma. Archana will not hold anything without Aparna. And every time when she calls me, she will also be there as a resource person. So that made us meet quite often. Then when she started this organization, founded this organization called Women's Studies Center here, she made me a member of her advisory committee. Archana and me used to be a member of the advisory committee of the DIBRUGARH Center. So we knew the problems, we knew what she was struggling against, we knew the things behind it. So every time when we had a board meeting, I used to come. And I think I have attended at least 3-4 board meetings of the Women's Studies Center. And that's why I thought today I'm qualified to be here. That I'm qualified to be associated with the 25th Silver Jubilee of Women's Studies Center of the DIBRUGARH University, because I've been associated with that from the very beginning. Its problems of appointment, its problems of staff requirement, its problems of finance, almost all of them I'm quite familiar with of those years, not as subsequently. But I miss Aparna. I will not see that for a long time now. It's not her fault, it's my fault. I became very active. I'm giving you this instance. I became very active in another one of, this is a UGC project, Women's Studies Centers. I was always in that committee, again because I'm Delhi Wali, but not because of any great qualification they have in me. But another UGC project, which is even more than this project, that is capacity building of women managers. Women academic managers, not managers in any field, which is any teacher, college or university, who has 5 years of teaching experience and who can become or eligible to become an administrative position, were invited as the participants of this workshop. I see quite a few here, out of Madhumita, Raji, all of them were my students, Ajanta, all of them were my, if I call it, students. In that particular workshop, because I was a constant resource person as well as organizer for all over India. That brought a divide between us, academically. Aparna did not believe in this. She did not believe in the ideology behind this. She didn't like this entire idea of university teachers becoming managers. She didn't like the word managers. So also there were some other people who didn't like it. Some very big shots didn't like. Veena Mazumdar, if you all know her name, she didn't like it. She totally opposed this. So it became too little bit of divide between some of us who were there and some of us who were not there. Aparna was one of those who didn't like it. We never had a discussion on it, but Aparna coolly, clearly kept herself out of it. I'm sure Archana would have called her 25 times. But I don't think I ever saw Aparna in any of our workshops from the very beginning. So I understood she's not very fond of this topic. How many workshops we have had? I think at least 50 workshops I must have had in the Northeast.
উল্লেখযোগ্য বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ৰ ইন্দিৰা মিৰি সভা কক্ষত প্ৰখ্যাত শিক্ষাবিদ অধ্যাপিকা সুশীলা কৌশিক ডাঙৰীয়ানীয়ে উল্লিখিত স্মাৰক বক্তৃতাটি উপস্থাপন কৰে তথা নাৰী সবলীকৰণৰ বিভিন্ন মাধ্যমসমূহ পৰ্যালোচনা কৰে।
So I would now move on with the this particular item of release of Shruti. May I request Professor Aparna Dutta Mahanta sir to kindly do us the honors by releasing Shruti for us, the 4th edition of Shruti. Banali Devajani, could you please help, sir?
দুখনি স্মৃতি গ্ৰন্থও এই সমাৰোহত উন্মোচিত হয় তথা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ৰ অন্তৰ্গত মহিলা কোষ কেন্দ্ৰৰ সম্পৰ্কত অধিক ৰূপত ইয়াত পৰ্যালোচিত হয়।
This newsletter and the Silver Jubilee logo is designed by our former student Taki Taiba Hussain. The word in the Silver Jubilee slogan, Nari Baat, owes its inspiration from a book written by Professor Aparna Dutta Mahanta with the same word, Nari Baat. Coming back to the page, cover page, it has a few glimpses of the center and an image of our founder director and our guiding light, Professor Aparna Dutta Mahanta. And if we analyze the cover page with a gender lens, we can see a woman riding a man's bicycle and carrying the child. And she is also looking back. And the image, if interpreted from the lenses of gender, we can see that she is calling others to bring their girl child to school. She is not only navigating and claiming public space, but she is also showing her decision-making ability to claim public space and taking her girl child to school. Of course, the cover page can be deconstructed and interpreted in a multiple ways. Thank you. In our center's project, she has designed her diligence and her hard work is reflected aptly in designing of the cover page of the newsletter and the Silver Jubilee logo. Thank you.